Okay, so Year 12. On the back of my book, I have here the definition that you are about to write. Now, this is how we refer to our persona certainly in the love song of J.R. Prufrock. So we call him a flaneur. It's a French term, and a flaneur is an idle, observant stroller who wanders city streets with no specific destination, simply taking in the urban atmosphere and observing society. So if we think about this persona in Prufrock, and as we keep analysing, think of him as someone who is observing, someone who is taking in everything around him within this urban landscape, but there's no specific destination. So in essays, students tend to write Eliot's flaneur and then continue on with whatever it is they're saying. Now, because we didn't get a huge amount written down last lesson because we listened to the poem and everything, this bit that you wrote down last lesson, I think it would be pretty quick to just transfer that information into the copy of the poem in your book when you've got a study period or time at home. So I'm going to go to putting the annotations into the book. What I've done, I'll just give us another few seconds for everyone to finish that definition. Okay, it looks like, has everyone got it down? Alright, what I've done in the copying here is I've made sure that the pages are printed with lots of space so that you've got plenty of space to make the annotations, and while still maintaining hopefully an ease of seeing where the stanza breaks are, because that's an important aspect. And yeah, there's just lots of space, so that hopefully is going to make annotating just that little bit easier for you. So obviously I haven't put my annotations from the other day onto this section, but what we got up to was just here where we had identified the rhyming couplet with sky and I, and we had said that we've got this allusion here to Shakespeare's sonnets, the love poetry of Shakespeare, along with that nice lyrical poetry that the Romanticists were so very famous for. Now, there's two words that I'm going to get you to write at the top of the page, just wherever it might fit. So obviously we've got to write what we're saying about Eliot setting us up for to expect a love song, all that sort of stuff we wrote last week. But I just am going to get you to write the two words up. Let's see. Let's write them just here. Hesitation and procrastination. the reason you're writing those two words is essentially this poem is all about hesitation and procrastination. And so when he's talking about time and saying there will be time, there will be time, there will be time, he's actually not going to have endless time. The modernists were concerned with this relentless pursuit, this relentlessness of time, and that there was nothing you could do to stop it. And here we've got our flaneur going, there'll be time, there'll be time, there'll be time, whilst also saying I'll grow old and I'll roll the bottoms of my trousers and there'll be a bald spot in my hair, so that it's like this double awareness. It's this duality here of him saying, oh, there's going to be time, I'm procrastinating, I'm hesitating, and I'm going to get old and it's not going to happen. So whilst he keeps on saying there will be time, there's still this awareness that time is going to run out, and it's not going to stop for him. All right, now let's go to what I need to do. I'm going to make that a little bit bigger. Okay, and I'm just going to do our focus thing, and hopefully it's all looking pretty good. All right. Let us go then, you and I, when the evening is spread out against the sky, like a patient etherized upon a table. Let us go through certain half-deserted streets, the muttering retreats of restless nights in one-night cheap hotels, and sawdust restaurants with oyster shells. Streets that follow like a tedious argument of insidious intent. Girls, please don't talk. To lead you to an overwhelming question. Now, I wanted to read that section there for you to hear the rhymes that Eliot is making. It is so we've already identified the rhyming couplet here with sky and I, right? So if we call that, you know how we do this to identify our rhyme scheme? So, and then we've got table, which doesn't rhyme with anything, but then we have streets and retreats, which rhyme. So, we go B there, my mistake, and then this is a C. C. Hotels, shells. So we can go D, D. Argument, intent, and question. Do they rhyme with anything? Do they? They do not. So D. So we've got rhyme, rhyme, none, rhyme, rhyme, different rhyme, rhyme, none, none, none. So what we have here is an irregular rhyme scheme, because if we just kind of fast forward to down here, we have a repetition, but then we've got evening, drains, chimneys. It's not like we can look to the next large stanza and go, oh, here we've got this same rhyme pattern happening. So we're just going to make a note, just maybe let's just write it just at the top here, because it does count for the entire poem. So we're writing irregular rhyme scheme, and it's really just that pushing back from the poetry of the past, especially the Romanticist poetry that was nice and lyrical. So it's meant to sound a bit disjointed, but still with a beauty there. So even though his poetry is often very dark and depressing, and it can seem quite pessimistic, it's almost like a contradicting beauty, I think, in the way that the poems sound when they're read aloud, with these moments of rhyming and these words that just sound beautifully put together. Like I love the sound of insidious intent. It sounds beautiful. The meaning is not beautiful, insidious intent, but when you say it, there's a real lyricism to how it sounds. And so he really is grappling with the beauty of the past and where it fits in with his view of this modernist world. And in terms of like making a note of what I've just said there, I might actually write something that is a little bit more, I guess, put together, and we'll write it down as a note next lesson. I just have to remember, I'm just going to write on my hand contradiction, and I'll write something that phrases that nicely for you. Okay, so let me just look at where we're up to with this one. Okay. We've already said that this bit here, like a patient etherized upon a table, is the subversion. This is what we wrote last week, the subversion of this imagery of the love song. And we are going to add to that, we're going to make a note about this word etherized, okay? So I mentioned last week that ether is the drug that was used to put people to sleep for an operation. And so the use of this word, I mean, it's always worthwhile thinking about, well, what could he have used instead, to think about the significance of the word that has been chosen, because every word has been chosen very specifically. He could have said, like a patient unconscious upon a table, or like a patient lying on a table or asleep, or there's lots of different words he could use, but this word etherized is quite strong. It's giving us this imagery of sickness. So we've got the imagery of sickness, and the fact that the word etherized rather than unconscious, it's actually, they refer to it as a potent anesthetic, and so it's meant to have that strength of inaction, of the fact that if you're etherized, you've got absolutely no consciousness, no control. So if we add just to the top there, potent anesthetic, imagery of sickness. And this gives us lack of control, or let's say total lack of control. Sorry, total lack of control. The fact that he's here saying, this etherized and total lack of control, when he's actually going to go on and talk about his desire to interact and to approach a woman and to get those things that he wants in life. So all those things that we should be in control of, that we ultimately do have control of, but his procrastination and his hesitation is so potent and so strong that he's likening it to ether. Okay, so that's why that's important, because he's actually talking about his hesitation and his procrastination. So there we go. You're welcome. So we are going to add, so because we have here, like, we've got, of course, a simile, don't we? So I'm just going to write sideways here, simile, and I'm writing the potency of his hesitation. And so he's likening this state of hesitation to that of an illness. Let us go through certain half-deserted streets, the muttering retreats. of restless nights in one-night cheap hotels and sawdust restaurants with oyster shells. Now, this imagery here is of the urban city and the kind of the dirty, polluted area that he was in, that is also reflective of what he saw as the dirtiness inside people who had decided to forego their morals and whose spirituality was decaying. And so when we perhaps wouldn't be familiar with this imagery here of the sawdust restaurants. I certainly have never been into a sawdust restaurant, but what that actually refers to is restaurants that are so filthy, where people are spitting on the floor and spilling things, and the sawdust coats the floor just to soak up all of the spills, and that way if people get drunk and they throw up, it's all just soaked up by the sawdust. So it's meant to be this really gross imagery of this restaurant. And restless nights in one-night cheap hotels refers to prostitution. A one-night cheap hotel is the idea there of hiring a prostitute for one night. So we are going to put here one night cheap hotels. It was called the red light district. Brothels, I don't know if they still do, often would have a red light in the window to indicate that that's what the business was all about. So red light but the red light district, and again directly subverting now. I'm writing past love poetry because it's not just the romanticist poetry, but also all the way back to Shakespeare's sonnets, and that idea of love has just been completely destroyed here with the first real notion of connection being that of prostitution. Now, just above that, the muttering retreats. So let us go through certain half-deserted streets, the muttering retreats. Now here, it is dependent on your own interpretation. That could very well be the muttering of the people in the streets, but it can also refer to the muttering of the streets. And so that's kind of how I read it. So there's this personification here of the streets. And because he is conveying the decay of the modern man through the way the streets are also conveyed, there's that that personification there works quite nicely, the muttering. And think about the word muttering. If you're muttering, there's a sense of discontent, isn't there? You know, people tend to mutter if they're annoyed at something. It's something that's not clear, that you can't quite hear, but it's usually associated with discontent. So I'm going to write imagery of discontent. Sawdust restaurants with oyster shells. Oysters are famously an aphrodisiac. They are supposed to make someone feel like having sex. And so that links in with this idea of the red light district, but instead of being romantic, it's tawdry. It's this notion of a human desire that can't be controlled and so needs to go. Miss Wilk is just dying over there. Are you okay, Miss Wilk?
Yeah. Sorry. No, yeah, no.
You looked disgusted.
No.
So oyster shells are an aphrodisiac.
Hate oysters.
Oh, that's what you're upset about. So, an aphrodisiac now what I've written there is, I've written subversion enough, I think. Aphrodisiac, but here it's twisted into a tawdry image because it's linked with the notion of the cheap hotels. Tawdry image of I'm going to put sexual desire Alright, so what I've written there is that this notion of an oyster, which is an aphrodisiac, here is twisted into a tawdry image of sexual desire without love or connection, merely a bodily function. So there's none of that, I guess, that sense of beauty from the past poetry that would suggest that connection between two people. It's just sawdust restaurants where people are drunk and vomiting and spitting and eating these oysters and then needing to go and get a prostitute. It's really meant to be very, very sickening and unsettling imagery. Streets that follow like a tedious argument. Now we've had the personifications of streets here with the muttering retreats, and now this it's a metaphor and a simile, because streets can't literally follow you. That makes it a metaphor. Like a tedious argument, we've got simile there. Streets that follow, or sorry, I should have said personification. Personification and simile, like a tedious argument. Now, a tedious argument, tedious is something that is drawn out and long and doesn't really go anywhere, and you're sick of it. It doesn't tend to be something that is ever resolved. A tedious argument, if I was having an ongoing argument with someone about the same thing over a long period of time, I'd go, this is such a tedious argument. And the argument that he's talking here about is the argument that the flaneur is having within himself, because when the next line comes in with streets that follow like a tedious argument of insidious intent to lead you to an overwhelming question. It's that question that he wants to ask of himself, or to have answered, or to express. And so we are going to make the annotation of just making sure some of these colours don't look great on the screen, so that one I'll go with. Now, we do indeed have a simile here, okay? if I was writing in my essay about this section, I wouldn't be listing personification and simile. You'd talk holistically about the personification of the street. So you kind of go with what is the bigger impact. So we can definitely put simile there to identify it, but it's all working together as this ongoing personification. And we're going to say tedious argument with self, and this fuels the extended metaphor of the journey through personal hell. Now, extended metaphor, of course, is a metaphor that is running throughout something. It can be as small as running across a stanza or a few lines, but within the love song of Alfred Prufrock, this metaphor of the journey through personal hell, which is established in the epigraph from Dante's Inferno, runs throughout the poem. So that's why it's an extended metaphor. Insidious intent. I just love the way that sounds, the lyricalness of that. Insidious is, what does insidious mean? He hasn't said evil intent, he hasn't said mean, or what is, does anyone know the definition of insidious?
Scary.
Yeah, who said scary? Yeah, insidious is often used in that scary way. It is something that is gradual. So it's a gradual, subtle procession of something that has harmful effects. So the reason why it's insidious is because it's sustained and it builds. So you might just want to write for yourself, maybe up the top in small, tiny writing, if you write the definition for insidious, because it's so much stronger than just saying evil or scary. So if we just put up here, insidious, proceeding in a gradual subtle way with very harmful effects. And just in brackets, inconspicuous. And if something is inconspicuous, it's often not noticed. It's hidden. Yeah, which kind of adds to that idea of it being scary, because if you don't even notice something that's happening that has very harmful effects, and that's more terrifying, I think, than something that you might know is coming, or that you can see, that you can identify. So the note we're going to write here for insidious intent is emotive. And I think he's questioning here, is the insidious intent, well, he's talking about the argument, like a tedious argument of insidious intent. So if the argument is one that he's having within himself, he's got this awareness of the harm that he's doing to himself in having this ongoing argument and this procrastination. So let's just add I didn't really have enough room there, so that's why it looks a bit weird. It's a motive. He is aware of the damage he is doing to himself, that self-awareness. To lead you to an overwhelming question. I do not ask, what is it? Let us go and make our visit. So, question with the ellipsis there, of course, we've got this question that's never answered. So, we never find out what the question actually is. That's where all our speculation is. So to lead you to an overwhelming question, I do not ask, what is it? Let us go and make our visit. So, this is an example of fragmentation. So, we've got this stanza telling us all these things, and then he suddenly breaks it with breaking the subject as well. The overwhelming question, I do not ask, what is it? Let us go and make our visit. And this creates that frustration in never getting to the height of what that question is. And he just, brings it back down to forget about it. So,
Miss, what do you think the question is?
I'm not sure. I think it's pretty complex. I think
Why don't girls love me?
potentially. I think like lots of people say it's about, is there a God, and is there, what's the meaning? I think it's kind of like, what's the point? What's the meaning of it all? Or it could be, will I ever find love? It could be as simple as that.
I reckon it's about love.
Yeah. So so let's put actually on the side here, let's write okay guys, remember I said that we were going to identify things that were to do with form. So this is form. No, form, I'm writing it at the side here, guys, because I'm referring to the entirety of the poem. This is just kind of the first example that we've got of it. So the entire poem takes on this fragmented form or fragmented style. Okay, so let me just explain this. What I'm saying is that having this fragmented style as the way the stanzas are structured, it causes interruption. So at times, like we've just seen, overwhelming question, I do not ask. So he interrupts the thoughts that are happening. it can cause frustration for the reader or show frustration in our flaneur, but at other times it also provides emphasis. And a little bit later on in the poem you'll see that there are these places where we've got these lines separated because they're incredibly sad or poignant or meaningful. So there's no one thing that fragmentation does. It does lots of different things. It's all according to the context in which it's occurring. I do not ask, what is it? Let us go and make our visit. So we've got this repeated phrase here, let us go. So we've had let us go here, let us go here, let us go here. So let us make note of that. We're going to what I'm going to do is I'm going to go let us go. So we've got it up here at the top, let us go. We have it here, let us go.
I will.
And so the annotation, hey, thanks guys. The annotation here, we've got this repeated, it's a repeated phrase. Thank you. Repeated phrase. And it's that collective, remember? So it's like inviting the reader. And what it does, it compels the reader to further explore the extended metaphor. It's not even spare, it's right there for you. Yep. So compels reader to, I've got here further explore the extended metaphor, but I actually think it's more than that. I think it compels reader to, it's not joining the flaneur, but it's maybe following the flaneur through his extended metaphor. Accompany. Oh, I like that. To continue. I like that. Continue. That's exactly what I meant. Continue to witness the F-L-A-N-E-U-R. F-L-A-N, yes it is. F-L-A-N-E-U.
Here's a 5-minute check.
Oh, thank you. All right. So, he's continuing to engage with the reader here. Oh, let us go and make our visit. And so we're left with this anticipation that perhaps he's going to reveal more in this kind of confusing barrage of images and find out what this argument is. Now, here we have this repeated phrasing of, in the room the women come and go, talking of Michelangelo. We see this again across the page. We've got it there. And, oh, is it only twice? Hey guys, just listen up. I know that we're about to pack up, but think about this phrasing. In the room the women come and go, talking of Michelangelo. Who does art in here? Put your hand up if you do art. Okay, can you tell me who Michelangelo was? Good, who said he painted the Sistine Chapel? Beautiful. And that, if you know anything about the Sistine Chapel, it's one of those phenomenons of history that it's so incredible and beautiful, and people marvel at how it was ever completed, and this high art of this artist Michelangelo. He also created a statue of David. Who knows of that statue? Statue of David, yes. So the statue of David is meant to be this. There's religious allusions there, David from the Bible. The naked statue is supposed to be the embodiment of the perfect man physically. So we've got an allusion here to all those things. We're going to write those notes when we meet again next. A challenge for you is to use let us go then, you and I, as many times as you can to people until it starts to get really annoying. It's good, trust me. Give them no context. Let us go then, you and I, to period 2 and teach year 7.